So good morning. Just in case you did not get them, in recognition of Father's Day, one of the things that I do is I bring Tootsie Roll Pops. So there are Tootsie Roll Pops out in the foyer in a basket. You be sure if you want one, get one. So Father's Day, another thing I like to do on Father's Day is to acknowledge fatherhood. Acknowledge the fathers that we all have. And some of us have had different experiences with our fathers. Some of us have had years of therapy to work through it. But each of our fathers, one way or another, has brought us a blessing, has given us something to appreciate or bring into the world. So at this time, I'd like to give everyone an opportunity, one at a time, to stand up and say just one or two of the blessings or gifts their father gave them. And I'll give an example. First of all, say your name, your father's name, and the gift that they gave you. I'm David Thomas Florence, son of Thomas Joseph Florence. Gifts that my father gave me are appreciation of nature and to be able to do what's mine to do with what I have. Now I open it up for you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you all for sharing your special times, sharing your heart. The heart of the Father, that's what today is about. In Father's Day, that's what Father's Day is about, the heart of the Father. The love of our fathers and the love of God, Father God. Sometimes, and especially in contemporary times, I know in ministerial school, I started hearing more about it. Just the idea of God being labeled Father bothers people. You know, it bothered a lot of my classmates. And we had discussions about it. And I found that in order to fully appreciate the spiritual presence that we call God, the Father, we must go beyond the mystique of a formal authoritarian, say that quickly 5 times, formal authoritarian figure. You know, the guy with the white beard who stands up on the throne or someplace high and got a lightning bolt just waiting for you. We need to move beyond that idea. For God is not meant to be formalized, neither is God meant to be feared. Spirit is meant to be loved, celebrated, and experienced. In unity, we speak of Father, Mother God. In some other beliefs, when they hear us say that, they go, "Ooh!" You know, they clutch their pearls. Because how dare we bring God out of a box? How dare we say that, you know, refer to God as mother, a woman? Well, God is not a woman. God is not a man. God is neither male nor female. God knows no gender, yet every gender is embodied by God. I'm going to say that again. Every gender is embodied by God. We are all expressions of the one Spirit. The Spirit of life, the Spirit of love, the Spirit of truth, the spirit of wholeness. It is we as human beings who delineate certain aspects of God which we experience, and we label them according to what is familiar to us, what is familiar to our culture. Now, what's more familiar than father and mother? Charles Fillmore had a rather strict definition of God we find in Revealing Word. Father as principle, the exact and immutable principle of being, laying back of all existence as cause and approachable only along lines of perfect law. It is omnipresent and is not subject to change or open to argument. Not subject to change or open to argument. Kind of sounds like a father who sets the rules down in the house, doesn't it? Not open, but, no. And that's essentially the truth of it. God as principle is the law that encompasses existence. The difference being that the laws of the universe do not come from a personal preference or whim. The laws of the universe emerge from all that is the presence of ongoing creation. Granted, there's time where there seems to be no logical or even illogical explanation for life events. Sometimes life just happens. It just happens, folks. And we may want to find some sort of explanation, some sort of reason behind it, because that's our nature. And oftentimes, you will not find an explanation or a reason, because it's life, and we live in the midst of an ongoing experience of change, of growth, of living the life that Spirit has put within us to bring into the world. It's important to remember that Spirit is the comforter, the wisdom, the imagination, and strength to bring you round again, especially in these circumstances of unexplainable life. Jesus the Christ said several things about his relationship with God the Father. He said, "The Father and I are one." He also said, "The Father is in me, and I am in the Father." As well as, "Very truly, I tell you, the Son can do nothing on his own, but only what he sees the Father doing. For whatever the Father does, the Son does likewise." He said this to explain how he did what he did. He was intimately connected to the principle of Spirit, to the laws of the universe. There is a scene, it's a John Travolta movie, where he becomes about omnipotent. The name of the movie escapes me at the moment. But he is, suddenly he can speak Portuguese. Suddenly he can do all these things. It's like he's a miracle worker. And he was sitting in front of a psychologist and talking to him, and he just starts going like this, and a pencil on the psychologist's desk starts rolling back and forth. He's just going like that, and the psychologist, Robert Duvall, he's, whoa. He says, "How are you doing that?" He said, "Oh, it's just an agreement between me and the pencil." And that's what your relationship is with Spirit. It's an agreement between you and Spirit. It's an agreement as to how open you are going to be the avenue of Spirit. What are you going to be able to pick up? What are you going to be able to lay down? Jesus also said, I am the light of the world, as he also said, you are the light of the world. These things that I do, you shall do also, and even greater things shall you do. He said that about us. You know, I've often thought, this actually comes from the very first talk I ever gave back in First Unity a bazillion years ago. Greater things. What could be greater than raising the dead? And changing water to wine is a pretty good trick, especially at a party. But all these things that he did, what could be greater that we can do? Think about tying your shoes. Right now, I know I don't even have to look. I can just reach down and tie my shoes. And I remember learning how to tie my shoes. It was a chore. I was kindergarten, I think. And I had to focus. I had to focus on this string here, And I remember the first time I did it, I was overjoyed. I mean, I told the whole household, went around, look, I can do it. I can tie my shoes. What's the greater thing? Me tying my shoes or learning how to tie my shoes? What is the greater thing for us, to perform the miracles that Jesus did, or learning how to perform the miracles in our life that we perform just about every day? That's the greater thing. The greater thing is creating that connection, creating that trust between you and Spirit, to be able to do what it is that Spirit would have you do in the world, to be the blessing that Spirit would have you be in the world. How do you do this? Simple. The 3 P's of spiritual practice. Practice, practice. 3 P's of spiritual growth. Practice, practice, practice. Conscious awareness, folks. Conscious awareness. You have to be willing to accept a greater good, a greater experience in your life. You might say, thanks, but I'm good right now. Everything's good. My life is good. I like it. But if Spirit offers you another experience, it's safe to say that this could make your life better. Not just for you, but for everyone. June 19th, 1865. That's another celebration for today. That's Juneteenth. June 19th, 1865. Close to 100 years before the first Gay Pride Parade. On that day, Union Army Major General Gordon Granger rode into Galveston, Texas, and issued General Order Number 3, proclaiming that the enslaved African Americans there were free. That the enslaved African Americans throughout Texas, whether you like it or not, are free. That's the celebration that we're having today. And that's what it's all about. The Texans then and the Texans now, many Texans, I know many who are not that way, but it's still happening all throughout the South and up through the North. They're not able to lay down their old ideas, things that no longer serve them, ideas that another human being is lesser than oneself, which is simply ludicrous. We have to lay down these ideas that we have spent years cultivating. Ideas that may seem to serve us well. And you can tell when an idea for change that you need to pay attention to comes to you, because the original feeling you get is a rush of, oh crap. Yep, that's me, and I need to change. I remember having that feeling in ministerial school, actually, and it was a feeling about my stepfather, who I used to and sometimes do call the evil one. It was coming to the place to acknowledge that he did do the best that he could with what he had, with who he was. So even though your life is good, if an opportunity comes that you know may be difficult because you have to lay down what it is that you have believed or thought you believed, because in your heart of hearts you know what you truly believe, to be able to lay that down and go with your heart of hearts and do what it is that Spirit's giving you to do. That is the change of a lifetime. That is what it's all about. The Father and I are one. The Father and I are one. That's something for you to use in your meditations. Something to use in your day-to-day life. One of my big aha stories is when I worked as a plumber. I did do regular plumbing as you think, but I built high-rises. I worked on high-rises. When you're working on high-rises, I was running copper, which I loved to do. I was running copper, and every unit in the building is pretty much the same thing. So all day long, you're cutting the same pieces of pipe. You're putting them together the same way. It's just a process. Blah, 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 blah. You're mass producing. So I decided that all the time I was doing that, since I really didn't have to think about it, I would just repeat, the Father and I are one. The Father and I are one. And I'd be doing that 6-7 hours a day as I'm just putting pipe together, sticking it in the wall, soldering it up. The Father and I are one. Cutting the pipe, cleaning the pipe. The Father and I are one. I remember I was in an open space, cutting pipe, cleaning pipe. Father and I are one. And boom. Oh my God. The Father and I are one. That was a life-changing event. Just that piece right there. I knew the truth. I knew the truth. Haven't always lived up to that truth, but at that moment I knew it. And that is the truth for all of us. The Father and I are one. Think of that for a moment. All of the love, all of the creative power, all of anything and everything good that you could ever perceive is one with you right now, in this very moment. The Father and I are one. Say that with me together. The Father and I are one. Yes, it is. And so it is. God blesses you.